His paws shook and his fur rattled as he climbed and sat on her chest, and then he went for the big one. You could almost, I could almost hear him thinking, "This always gets him." He fell on his side and went with his head on her shoulder. He played gently with the huge drop earring that hung from her earlobe like a punch bag, tapping it this way and that before standing up and bopping it with his forehead. "Isn't he cute?" He was sickening. Whose bloody kitten was it anyway? All right, it was Patrick's. But with me it had been two blokes together, an understated, unspoken bond between two mates who weren't about to embarrass one another with a show of undue affection. Now here he was, the chocolate box kid himself, playing Aileen as though she were a musical instrument. Any moment now he would produce a box of black magic. I stood up. I think perhaps I should take him home now. She tickled him under the chin, and his eyes closed and his legs buckled. "There's no hurry," she said. "They'll hardly have missed him yet." The show went on for another half hour or so, and he was now hamming it up like an old actor manager. I read the paper and pretended to ignore the pair of them. Aileen was completely under his spell. She would have cashed a cheque for him. He only had to ask. Every time I snuck a glance in their direction, I caught the kitten's eye, and I wished I hadn't. And then he did the most remarkable thing. He was walking across her breastbone on his way to having a go with the other earring. Then he stopped, took a double take, and stared at her eyes. First one, then the other. He had stopped acting. This was the kitten I had picked up on the shovel. He turned and shuffled near to her face, placed his paws on her throat and rested his chin on hers. For several minutes he took stock, scrutinizing her pupils like some small ophthalmic? God knows. Ophthalmic surgeon. For several minutes he took shock, scrutinizing her pupils like some small I can't say it! For several minutes he took shock, scrutinizing her pupils like some ophthalmic surgeon. Aileen sat very still and waited. She has lovely eyes. You have to get up very close to see the black dots and scars of past operations. Sometimes a photograph will betray her. She can't see the lens, and one eye will search for it whilst the other couldn't care less. But unless they were told or watched as she walked through the plate glass window, no one would ever know that she was blind. But the kitten knew. And as we waited, he sat up and placing one front paw on her cheek, he gently stroked her blind eye with the other. We were spellbound. He touched his paw against the other eye and thought about it for a while, then keeled over and fell asleep on her shoulder. Did you see that? Yes. He could tell, couldn't he? Yes. Good God. At that point we had no idea that he had now taken up the vacant post of official guide kitten, but he assumed his duties the moment Aileen peeled him from her shoulder and lay him down gently on the arm of the chair. He awoke before she had taken a single stride across the room, and then there he was, dancing in front of her like one of Vienna's lippy Zano horses. Can't pronounce that, I don't know. Sideways and backwards, first his eyes on her feet, and then on the doorway. Clear the way, please, clear the way. Out in the hall, he tried to steer her around the Chinese rug. He seemed to have a thing about rugs. There were black holes into which kittens disappeared, never to be seen again. Aileen had no such hang-ups, and she strode straight ahead, not seeing the frantic antics of the tiny ball of energy at her feet. And it was at that moment that this lack of formal training let him down. Stop! But Aileen didn't hear him. He hurled himself in front of her high heels without a single thought for his own safety, and then wished he hadn't been quite so impulsive as she trod on him, stumbled and fell. I picked her up, dusted her off, and checked the bruises. There weren't any. Are you all right? Yes, I'm fine. Where's the kitten? I bent down and scraped him from the rug. I bent down and scraped from the rug all that remained of a now rather flat kitten and checked him for signs of life. He opened one eye. Where am I? Don't worry, love, he'll be alright. I think I'm the best judge of that. He just needs an injection of chicken, straight in the vein. He lay limp in my palm, and managed only the merest flicker of a smile. My hero, he muttered weakly. He managed to force down a morsel of chicken breast, only 2 saucers full actually. But he made it quite clear to me that it was more medicinal, that it was for medicinal purposes only, and I shouldn't think for one moment that he was enjoying it. He gave Aileen a wide berth as he wandered back into the hall. Chicken or no chicken, this being a guide kitten wasn't going to be quite the picnic he had imagined. Nevertheless, he stuck to his task and raced ahead of her as she made for the stairs. Then, with a mighty leap, he landed on the first step. Without the long run up, it was going to take an even mightier leap to make the second, and to his credit, his chin made it. Even if the rest of him didn't. He tried again, this time enjoying his own version of the Forsby flop. But it's an old house with high ceilings and stairs to match it, and it was more than an uneven battle. After another abortive attempt, he graciously accepted a lift, and from the comfort of Aileen's arms he consoled himself with the thought that from this elevated position he could still be her eyes and ears, and warn her if any vicious rugs were on the prowl. I made myself useful and washed the pots. This was really Aileen's job. I did the cooking and she washed the pots. That was the unspoken agreement. In reality, I heated up the contents of various Marks and Spencer's boxes every day, and she washed several cups and a wine glass every night. What was that? A gravy boat? You haven't had any gravy. I used it as a milk jug. She would travel around with her fingers in the bottom of the sink. What's that then? That's the handle of the gravy boat. What was wrong with the milk jug? You broke it. We were fast running out of cups and saucers, plates and mugs. We were also completely out of milk jugs and gravy boats. and so I contrived to wash up as long as I went along, leaving just the old pudding dish to tremble at her coming. I rinsed out the milk bottles and went to stand them on the step. It was a pleasant night. The day had dried out, and a full moon painted the balcony with a soft light. At times like this, I've been known to have a stab at Romeo and Juliet. I only know 4 lines. If I'm down in the country yard... If I'm down in the courtyard, then it's Romeo who bursts forth in a pleasing baritone, delivered in an authentic cornetto-style Italian accent. Beauty soft, what a light through yonder window breaks. It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Tonight I was up on the balcony, and so it was a rank charm school falsetto that I delivered the immortal lines. Good night, parting is such sweet sorrow, and I shall say good night till it be morrow. Juliet was supposed to make her exit at that point, but an answering voice from down in the courtyard next door stopped me in my tracks. Is that you, Aileen? No, it's me. Patrick sounded disappointing, and I can't say I blame him. He shone a torch and caught me in his beam. Have you seen our cat? I can't find it anywhere. No, I heard myself saying, in a voice thick with innocence and sincerity. No, sorry, Patrick, I haven't seen it. Thank you.